Disney's Wilderness Lodge is a beautiful hotel with great restaurants and great theming, but what might you be losing by booking a room here? Taking one vacation that takes you two entirely different places sounds really appealing to some people, but is it worth trading a bigger room and a monorail right at your resort? Your vacation to Florida can take you to the Pacific Northwest at Wilderness Lodge, but what do you lose in translation? Let's find out. Hey everybody, it's AJ for Disney Food Blog. Now, probably one of the most elaborately themed resorts, Wilderness Lodge. It's one of Disney's deluxe resorts. There's tons of pine trees, natural wood, rock features. There's a spring right in the middle of the lobby. You really feel like you're in the Pacific Northwest wilderness. And there's a lot to be impressed with in this resort, but it's not right on the monorail. You're gonna have to take some buses and boats a lot of places. The rooms are smaller than other deluxe resorts, so there are a few negatives to staying here as well compared to other deluxe resorts. So today, we're gonna help you decide, is Disney's Wilderness Lodge worth it for you? Is it the deluxe resort you want to stay in? Okay, we're going to start with location. Wilderness Lodge is on Bay Lake, which is that lake that kind of sits behind the Contemporary Resort. It's only about a mile from the gates of Magic Kingdom, but you'll feel like you've taken a journey across the country to the Pacific Northwest. Now, while this is a great location for a Magic Kingdom visit, well, relatively great, again, we'll get back to that, the lodge is located about 7 miles from Animal Kingdom and Hollywood Studios, which can make this a much longer ride in the morning by bus or car. 7 miles doesn't sound like a long trip, but we're talking Disney miles. With the roundabout route most buses take, factor in loading and unloading times and just general resort area traffic, you could easily be 45 minutes getting from point A to point B if you're going to those two parks. Now, the appeal of that is that they've made Wilderness Lodge feel secluded, but at the same time, you're not terribly far from anything you need to get to. Now, we're talking a lot about Wilderness Lodge transporting you to the Pacific Northwest. This is probably one of the hotels in Disney World that does the best job of really making you feel like you've gone somewhere else, that you're not in Florida anymore, and that you really are experiencing a completely different vacation. So if you've been to one of the national park lodges, you'll get a familiar feeling as you pull up to Wilderness Lodge. The building itself is inspired by those lodges at the turn of the 20th century, so it's very, very cool. You're going to get a totally different feel from the landscaping here than you'll find at other hotels. A lot of hotels in Disney World, you're talking palm trees, maybe those deciduous trees that you're going to find in the southeast, at those Port Orleans resorts. But here, you're going to find soaring pine trees, mountainous greenery, natural boulders, rocks, water features. Some of the logs used in building the resort came from Oregon and Montana and are what they call standing dead trees. Trees that are still standing in the forest but were no longer growing due to things like insect damage or storm damage. Now, the lodge has the feeling of an upscale but rustic log cabin, but it doesn't have the stuffy upper crust vibe a lot of people say they get at the Grand Floridian. It's very similar to the vibe at Animal Kingdom Lodge, because both of them were created by the same architect. It's casual, laid back, but still enormous and very, very fine. Now, also like Animal Kingdom Lodge, Wilderness Lodge is kind of an art gallery in a way. It features artifacts, genuine and reproduced, from Native American cultures like the Sioux, the Blackfoot, the Cheyenne tribes, so be sure to take time to really explore here. Fun fact, Walt Disney's wife Lillian was born and raised on the Nez Perce Indian Reservation in Lapwai, Idaho, and Walt was genuinely fascinated by the stories of the Native American culture that his mother-in-law often shared with him. Now, of course, Walt had nothing to do with the building of Wilderness Lodge, but that's kind of an interesting connection to make. Now, the interior of the lodge's lobby is created from native wood and limestone. There's incredible inlaid wood floors, really, really cool to see. And you're going to find an actual spring and a running stream in the lobby. Talk about bringing the outdoors in. Now, the highlight of the lobby is the 82-foot fireplace that's created a replica of the strata of the Grand Canyon. There's colors pulled straight from the natural rock and erosion of the Grand Canyon, so that's pretty cool as well. More than 95 paint colors were used to create the variations in that rock, and you might also want to pay close attention just in case there's a hidden Mickey somewhere in there. Now, the rooms at the Wilderness Lodge have spent the past year and a half while the resort was closed getting a fresh renovation. The newly remodeled rooms retain the same feeling of the warmth of natural materials, but the colors and bed linens have been lightened up to brighten the rooms, giving them a larger, less rustic appearance. The rooms now feel a little more craftsman, sort of like the rooms at the Grand Californian Resort over in Disneyland. One complaint before was that the rooms were dark, and the remodel definitely addressed that issue as they have a much lighter, brighter look. The rooms are still fairly small for a deluxe resort. We'll talk about that in a second, but brightening them up helps them feel a little bit bigger. Okay, let's move on to talking about rooms and prices. Room rates here tend to be a little bit lower than other deluxe resorts, and one reason for that is the size of the rooms here. They do tend to run a bit smaller than rooms in other deluxe resorts. An average room here is about 344 square feet. The Grand Floridian has standard rooms about 440 square feet. Now, really, for most guests visiting Disney World, you aren't going to spend all that much time in your room, but if you do plan on spending some time enjoying this resort, it may get a little cramped after a few nights, especially if you've got 4 people in there. Also, unlike other resorts in the deluxe category, the rooms at Wilderness Lodge only accommodate 4 people, plus a child under the age of 2. Other resorts in this category, in particular the monorail resorts, will accommodate 5 guests in a room. Now, Wilderness Lodge lacks the sleeper sofa or Murphy bed we see in resort rooms that accommodate up to 5 guests. There is a deluxe club level room here that will sleep 6, 2 queen-sized beds and a queen-size pull-out sofa, plus 1 child under 2, but you're going to spend more for that room than you would for a standard room at one of the other deluxe resorts. Now, I know you're thinking, hey AJ, aren't there DVC rooms at Wilderness Lodge? Yes, there are, viewer, and we're going to talk about those in just a second. Now, for the child under 2, you can request a crib, which is more often than not a pack and play. They say these are first come, first serve, but we've arrived late into the evening and they've had one available. And there are still a few regular size cribs, however, these are not always available and they seem to be in limited supply. If you prefer those, definitely request them specifically. They can't be guaranteed. Okay, so let's dig into room rates. Standard rooms have different views. And the better view is going to cost more, obviously. A standard view is going to be between $424 and $826, depending on the time you travel. Courtyard view is going to be $528 to $854. Nature fireworks view is going to be $673 to $1,033. And the nature view is going to be $478 to $842. A standard room at club level is $696 to $1,194, and deluxe room at club level is $866 to $1,573. Now, each type of room has an optional king bed that runs a little more, but don't leave it to chance. If you want a king room, book a room in that category. As we said, the standard rooms here are among the smallest, equal in size to the rooms at Disney's Caribbean Beach Resort, which you obviously could get for significantly less money. But the big room draw here for a lot of families is the bunk bed rooms. For real, these are awesome for families with 1 queen-size bed and then a set of bunk beds. Unfortunately, with the new renovation, there are no more bunk bed rooms at Wilderness Lodge. If this is something that's still necessary for your family, you can check out the cabins at Fort Wilderness. The cabins are comparable in price to a room at Wilderness Lodge, but you're in a freestanding cabin with its own kitchen and a living room. And while the fort is a super cool place on its own, you lose the ambiance and the amenities you'd have if you stayed right at Wilderness Lodge. Now, let's talk a minute about the Old Faithful Club. This is the concierge or club level at Wilderness Lodge. So here are some specifics on that. Club level rooms at Walt Disney World offer guests concierge services prior to their arrival, personalized check-in services, a dedicated concierge at the resort so you won't have to wait in the lobby front desk line, and access to the club's snacks, continental breakfast, and drinks. They also will include a turn-down service in the evening, and yes, that means a chocolate for your pillow. Now, do you want to book a club level room? Well, those rooms are expensive if you don't build in the time to take advantage of the offering. So you really want to think about how many afternoon snacks or hors d'oeuvres hours you'll actually make it to while trying to visit the theme parks. Overall, with regard to the layout of all the rooms, the distance from some rooms to the main lobby or to the Roaring Fork, which is the counter service location at Wilderness Lodge, can be quite a trek. Not an Animal Kingdom Lodge kind of trek, but if you have mobility concerns, you definitely want to request something near the elevator or as close to the lobby as you can get. Okay, now I mentioned I was going to talk about DVC, Disney Vacation Club rooms. We want to mention here that part of the Wilderness Lodge Resort includes Disney Vacation Club's Boulder Ridge Villas and Copper Creek cabins. Disney Vacation Club is timeshare-esque, and there are several dedicated DVC resorts and other resorts with at least some DVC rooms. Boulder Ridge and Copper Creek rooms are considered deluxe villas that come in studio, 1, 2, and 3 bedroom villas at Boulder Ridge, and in addition to those, 2 bedroom cabins at Copper Creek. Although these rooms are Disney Vacation Club rooms, anyone can book them. You can't book them as far in advance as other Disney resort rooms, but there are some advantages to a Disney Vacation Club room. The pros of staying at a DVC villa is space. You can really spread out here, and if you go over the 4-person max in the regular rooms, you'll find rooms that can accommodate your whole gang at DVC, up to 12 people in the 3-bedroom villas, for example. Also, anything larger than the studio will give you a full kitchen and a washer and dryer. No need to pay for extra checked bags because you can toss your clothes in the wash and not have to pack as much. This is especially helpful if you got little kids. Now, the kitchen can also be a huge money saver since you can prepare your own meals there, including a full Thanksgiving dinner when you wait until the last minute and try to get a Thanksgiving Day dining reservation. Just saying. Now, the cons are the access to the lodge itself. Both the cabins and Boulder Ridge villas are located outside of the main lodge, so you're going to have a longer walk to get to amenities. Boulder Ridge is encompassed in its own building, located out the back of the main lodge. Copper Creek villas are located in the south wing of the lodge, and at their farthest, they can be quite a hike. The cabins are also a fairly long walk in an uncovered area, so if you're getting back to your room in the rain, you're going to get drenched by the time you get into your space. So DVC is an option if you need to spread out, but also note that those rooms are going to cost a lot more. You may consider renting DVC points through a high-end company like David's DVC Rental. They do a really good job over there, and it's a very safe way to rent DVC points from DVC owners and pay a little bit less for those rooms. All right, let's talk transportation. You've got 2 Disney transportation options at Wilderness Lodge depending on where you want to go. Buses, of course, but it can take forever to get to Disney's Animal Kingdom Lodge and Disney's Hollywood Studios, but it's also longer to get to Magic Kingdom by bus than the alternatively offered boat. Unless the boat launches aren't running, there's not a really good reason to use the bus to the Magic Kingdom from Wilderness Lodge. Buses run about every 20 minutes, but you'll find them a little more frequent in the morning, though they do tend to fill up quickly. There is one main bus depot at Wilderness Lodge, but there are 3 stops in that one depot. Make sure you're waiting in the correct one based on which park you're headed for. There are signs posted to help you. And there have been times in the past where the lodge has shared buses with the Polynesian Village Resort and Fort Wilderness. This can add time to your morning commute, so if you're in a rush to get to an early breakfast reservation, or you want to make sure you hit rope drop to get your day going, you may want to look at taking an Uber or a taxi or driving your own car. Now, the better way to get to some destinations from this resort is by boat. Definitely, if you are going to the Magic Kingdom, this is the way to go. Your actual ride time should be shorter, even if your wait time is a little bit longer. The wait time between boats can be as much as 30 minutes, but we've seen them come more frequently at peak times or even at lower crowd times when it doesn't take as long to load the boats. The left side of the dock is the Red Flag launch. These launches go to the Magic Kingdom, and the Red Flag launch is run with 2 differently sized boats. One of them, the Cruiser, can accommodate an ECV or a guest in a wheelchair that cannot transfer, and if the boat isn't too crowded, you can bring an unfolded stroller on board. You may have to wait at the dock for a cruiser to come. Be aware, however, if the water level is very high or very low, the captain has the right to limit access to the boats by people in ECVs or wheelchairs. The right side of the dock is the Blue Flag launch. These go to the Contemporary Resort and Fort Wilderness. They usually start running early, like 6:45 a.m., so you can make that early morning breakfast reservation. These launches are generally not ECV accessible, and if you are in a wheelchair, you will have to fold it and transfer to a seat on the boat. The same is true of strollers in these launches. Okay, let's talk dining. You have a few great options for dining at Wilderness Lodge, and while we know some people miss Artist Point and the smoky, delicious mushroom soup, not only may you still be surprised to find it here, there are still some memorable dishes when they don't have it. First up is Storybook Dining at Artist Point. This place used to be all about that soup and the signature dining experience, but it's so much more now. It's a Snow White character meal, and since some of these characters are pretty hard to find in the parks, it's a great way to meet a few favorite dwarfs. Now, yes, I am shocked to find myself saying that a character meal is better than a signature meal, but Artist Point was never my favorite. It was always very hit or miss, and my experience with Storybook Dining with Snow White, the food is generally pretty good. The character interaction's wonderful. The dining room is gorgeous. There's trees and twinkle lights, and they've done a really, really good job sort of transforming this into a still high-end but kind of magical place. Now, you're likely to see Snow White, Grumpy, and Dopey, who come to your table for a chat and some pictures or autographs, but the character highlight here honestly is the Evil Queen. You can hop in line to see her after your meal. I'd keep an eye out though during your meal. We've seen a line waiting for her at the end of our meals previously, and if we had been more proactive, we could have jumped in a much shorter line between courses. Just make sure it doesn't mess up your server and the flow of the meal. This is a prefix meal, by the way. It's going to run you $16 $60 for adults and $39 for kids. You'll only choose your entree here. There's a fairly good selection: prime rib, fish, roasted chicken, braised pork shank, but the appetizers and desserts are pre-plated for the whole table. Remember that mushroom soup you thought you'd miss your whole life? Well, it does sometimes appear on the menu here. It comes as one of the appetizers sometimes, and there are a couple of other apps as well. Desserts are also pre-plated, and the meal ends with a sweet surprise. Your server will bring out the Huntsman's box that he was supposed to get Snow White's heart in, of course, and inside are some chocolate hearts and some caramel corn, as well as a little dry ice doing its smoky thing to make it look super cool. Now, Whispering Canyon Cafe has become one of those iconic Disney restaurants that everyone knows something about. This is the more moderately priced restaurant in Wilderness Lodge. Now, there's some rambunctious fun to be had here. Your servers are very much in character as they serve all-you-care-to-eat skillets and a la carte menu offerings. Now, this restaurant can be too loud for some people who are sensitive to noise or for small children, but it can also be a great place to take little ones who haven't yet mastered that indoor voice. Heads up also, if your door happens to open onto the lobby at Wilderness Lodge, you may be woken up by Whispering Canyon Cafe noise. It doesn't happen very often, but I have been in some of those rooms where I could definitely hear Whispering Canyon Cafe in the morning. Now, if you are dining at Whispering Canyon, you can opt out of participating in the antics if you like. And what are the antics? Basically, your servers are just kind of joking around with you. Sometimes they throw straws at you. They might make fun of dad. They're just, irreverent is a good word. Now, if you're down for the fun, ask to be seated in the main part of the dining room. There is kind of a back room that's going to be kind of apart from everything that's going on in the main dining room, and so it's going to be much less kind of in your face back there. All right, next we're going to talk about Geyser Point Bar and Grill. This is just a short walk through the woods to get to an amazing view of the lake as you sit in a covered area poolside. This is kind of the Wilderness Lodge's pool bar, basically, but it's huge. It's a big old outdoor lounge, and then they've got a counter service location next to it. So there's a lot going on here. It's definitely not your typical pool bar, and that's kind of the direction that Disney's going as they renovate pool bars these days. Now, the menu here includes some shareable favorites like the handcrafted charcuterie and cheesy beef brisket dip, which is super, super yummy, heads up. But you want to save some room for trying something out of your comfort zone too. Unique menu items include a bison burger, which is a really, really good burger. It is making like top 10 burger lists all over the place. And they also have salmon croquettes. There's also a finger food sampler for kids, great for tots who are still mastering that art of the utensil, but also a healthy option that includes sliced turkey, cheese, and quinoa salad they can scoop up with a multigrain cracker. Among the vast cocktail menu, you'll find a selection of Pacific Northwest themed cocktails like the Cascadia Sangria and the Northwest Iced Tea, which is basically a Long Island iced tea. The bar is a great place for a quick bite, and it's a beautiful place to watch the sunset. It does get busy though, so heads up that if you go kind of right around dinner time, it might be a little more crowded than you expected. All right, moving on to Roaring Fork. This is the counter service option for Wilderness Lodge, and although the menu here might feel a bit more limited than some of the other counter service spots, there are some menu notables here to try. Loaded waffles, when you see them on the menu, are a thing of breakfast beauty. We've seen them in a chocolate lovers option, strawberry, and the oh-so-good Bananas Foster version. These are basically Mickey waffles with toppings on them, so who doesn't love that, right? Now, the lumberjack platter? This is pulled pork, mac and cheese, cornbread, and coleslaw. You're also going to find all-day chicken and waffles at this location, and that is delicious. Now, you're going down the ramp to get to this restaurant. It can be quite a hike from the DVC rooms or even some of the rooms in the main lodge. The ramp can be a challenge to navigate for someone in a manual wheelchair, and coming back up with a stroller is no joke either, so be aware if you've got wheelchairs or strollers in your party. And they also feature seasonal desserts here during the holidays and a monthly specialty cupcake. And yeah, there's a super adorable campfire cupcake that has a little tiny campfire on top and a little tiny toasted marshmallow on top too. All right, moving on to the lounge. Territory Lounge is the indoor lounge. It's basically right off of Artist Point, so of course it used to be the signature lounge for that location. Now, this one's got an even more limited menu, especially now, and the hours are somewhat limited here at the moment, but it's a great spot to meet friends for a cocktail. When their full menu comes back, it's also one of my favorites in Walt Disney World, one of my favorite lounges to go hang out at. They always have some sort of great fondue on the menu. They usually have some truffle fries, so it's a good one to check out. But look at that menu before you go to make sure they're offering something you're going to enjoy. Okay, time to talk about pools. There may not be a more beautiful pool area than the Copper Creek Spring Pool. The stream from the main lobby feeds into this pool, sort of. It doesn't really, but they make it look like it does. And it helps feed the illusion that you are out in the wilderness. It gives a very organic, natural vibe to the whole thing. There's a perfectly themed splash area, one of the better ones we found at Disney, and it's not something that detracts from the overall theme of the resort. There are not too many shaded areas here, so make sure you bring the sunscreen and the hat and the rash guard. You know the drill. The Boulder Ridge Cove pool is over on the Disney Vacation Club side of things, but anyone staying at the resort can use it. It's definitely quieter away from the main pool, and it's a great grown-up spot. There's deep seating set up in conversation groupings that really makes ending the day here with a cocktail nice, and the area is just off of Geyser Point Bar and Grill in case you need to get your sangria on. This pool also has cabanas, which are free to use and available on a first-come, first-served basis. Amenities time. You're going to find all the amenities here that you'd find at other deluxe resorts, resort concierge, dry cleaning, etc. But a few things do stand out here. First, the Salon by the Springs, which opened in 2017. It actually replaced the Trout Pass pool bar. Really does it all. Didn't have time to get your roots touched up before vacation? Well, in addition to cuts and blowouts, you can get full color and highlights here. They have manicures and pedicures, even for little ones over age 4, and the prices are not that much higher than at a salon in a big city. The salon is typically open daily from 9 to 5, and you'll want to make an appointment for sure. And Sturdy Branches Health Club is available only to guests of Wilderness Lodge, Boulder Ridge, and the cabins at Copper Creek. The fitness center is open 24 hours a day, so if you haven't walked off the extra calories with the extra walking in Disney World, you can head in any time of the day. You'll only be able to access the weight training and strengthening equipment from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m., but the cardio machines are always available to use. Now, there are definitely some awesome other activities at Wilderness Lodge. You're going to want to check at the front desk at some point during your stay to get the activity sheet. This will list all the fun things you can do, give you times, etc. There are usually games and activities around the pool. Some have a nominal charge, like tie-dyeing t-shirts, but a lot of the activities are free. You can view the electrical water pageant from the boat docks here, and they've also got movies under the stars. They can tell you at the front desk what's playing each night of your stay, and the movies take place right after the campfire, so if your little ones don't need to be in bed too early, you can do both. Now, the campfire comes with a stick and marshmallows, but if you want to have the whole s'mores experience, you can bring your own ingredients or purchase the kit at the resort to make them. Don't forget the insect repellent, though. You may need it to ward off the no-see-ums. And there are also 2 hidden Mickey hunts at the resort. One focuses on the main lodge building, while the other takes you to Boulder Ridge. There's a cute little prize at the end, and it's a great thing to do if you arrive too late to go to a theme park or it's too rainy to be outside at all. Now, you're also super close here to Fort Wilderness. It's literally a short boat ride or a jogging trail away. You can absolutely bop on over there to enjoy the activities they have. And if horses are your thing, you can do pony rides with the kids or a wagon or carriage ride. They also have horseback riding over there. There's an archery experience there that's kind of cool. It's just over an hour, and after a quick lesson on how to hold and aim, you'll spend much of your time actually firing at the targets that are set up. All right, let's talk secrets. There are a few secrets you'll want to know here at Wilderness Lodge. They can really add to the unique fun at this resort. One of our favorites is the secret lounge area with a fireplace on the 3rd floor, which is 1 floor above the lobby. Even on busy days, you're likely to find this spot open, and you can access this hidden gem from the stairs in the lobby right by the restrooms. The spot makes for an adorable family photo in your flannel jammies too. And the Carrollwood Pacific Railroad Room, also called the Iron Spike Room, is located just off the lobby in the Boulder Ridge building. Walt had created his own miniature railroad display at his home, which he called the Carrollwood Pacific Railroad, named after the street on which his home stood. And aside from the peaceful tranquility you'll find here, there are a few preserved pieces of Walt's own train collection, photographs of his home display, and other railroad memorabilia. The Fire Rock Geyser is Wilderness Lodge's own version of Old Faithful. You can check it out just out the back of the lobby area, as if you were walking towards the pool, and if you time it right, which is every hour on the hour, you'll see the geyser erupt. And the Wonders of the Lodge tour. Although this tour has been discontinued during COVID, we are listing it in hopes it comes back. It's a fascinating and free tour of the main lodge building, and it gives so much great detail on the history behind the decor, the totem poles, and some of the artifacts. So fingers crossed we see it again soon. So let's talk about if Disney's Wilderness Lodge is right for you. Well, this hotel may be worth it for you just for the gorgeous decor and rustic lodge feel. A lot of people stay there just because they like the atmosphere and the ambiance, and it really is steeped in theming. It takes you on 2 vacations, one to sunny Florida and one to the Pacific Northwest. And as far as amenities, you have just about everything you need here. There's character dining, fun table service dining, shopping, really nice pool areas, and club level accommodations. The services and amenities here are deluxe feeling, and with the newly renovated rooms, even the accommodations feel lighter. The price point might make it worth it to you if you want a deluxe experience at a slightly lower price. You'll find the rooms here come in under the price point that most of the other deluxe resorts charge. And if you're looking for a home away from home experience, you can book one of the Disney Vacation Club villas with a full kitchen and washer dryer. It will let you accommodate more people and give you more room amenities that might end up saving you a few dollars over having to book multiple rooms. Now, this may not be the resort for you if you compare it to other deluxe options available. With rooms that can be much smaller than some of the other Disney Deluxe hotels, you might feel like you don't have much room to stretch out. And if you have a bigger family, you won't find standard rooms here that sleep 5 guests. If you want a monorail location, this is not it. No matter how deluxe everything feels here, there's no monorail access, which is a big draw for paying that deluxe price tag. And most of all, if you're looking to get away to Florida, expecting the bright and pastel Florida vibe, you're not going to find that here. It's the opposite of that. This is not a traditional Florida beachy themed resort, and if you want something light and breezy, you may want to stick to the yacht and beach club or boardwalk resort. So should you stay here? Well, yes, if you like tranquil, calm hotels that put you in tune with nature while still being pretty close to the Magic Kingdom. If you like high energy, bright colors, and a big city vibe, you might think Wilderness Lodge is for sure just not worth it. Also, you got to think about transportation. You can't walk to any parks from Wilderness Lodge. You can boat to Magic Kingdom, you can bus everywhere else, but it is definitely not as walk friendly as those Crescent Lake resorts over near Epcot or the monorail resorts by Magic Kingdom or even the Swan and Dolphin over by Epcot. So there's a lot to consider here, and we would love to hear from you. Let us know in the comments if you've stayed at Wilderness Lodge, if you're considering Wilderness Lodge, and if Wilderness Lodge is right or wrong for you. Let us know why. Thank you so much for listening. Thanks for watching. As always, this is AJ for Disney Food Blog, and we'll see you real soon.